You are 3 times more likely to be murdered as a farmer than as a policeman in South Africa. Horrific, horrific stories. People get tied up with barbed wire, boiling water, to a point where the soles of their feet come off. Women have their breasts sliced off, and often this is done in front of children, in front of husbands or wives.
What the fuck's going on there? Why are the farmers being murdered, raped and tortured? Julius Malema, he's the leader of the Red Berets.
He's a prick. These are stupid and evil people. They have looted the country to death. We have gone backwards in every single metric. Health, education, sewage pouring into the streets. The country is falling apart.
Is Nelson Mandela a hero or a villain?
He was a very bad man. He was a terrorist. When we are accused of being colonists and settlers, that's absolute bullshit. The black tribes of South Africa are just as much colonizers and settlers. King Shaka of the Zulus, he was a murderer, rapist, pillager, throwing people off cliffs.
Do you think if they were going to murder you, they would come into your house and torture you, or do you think they'd use a sniper to take you out?
I've got a gun and I will shoot back.
I thought I was going to be murdered. It involves the Hells Angels and a brothel, but we're going to come back to that.
Soft diplomacy is soft cock.
And no one wants one of them. Having sex with African prostitutes isn't my thing. I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Rob.
Liam, what a great honour to be here, and a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. I'm really, really looking forward. I mean, as dark as this subject matter is going to be, if anyone's qualified to talk about the devastation in South Africa, it's you. Very successful, very wealthy businessman. Yeah. You're in the political sphere. I think a lot of people are going to be shell-shocked today because we don't really hear a great deal about South Africa in the UK. What the fuck's going on there? Why are the farmers being murdered, raped and tortured?
Because we have a government called the ANC, which your audience will probably remember as the Nelson Mandela rainbow nation of South Africa, went from apartheid to democracy. South Africa's solved. Let's go look at another place and try and fix another place. And they moved on. And this ANC government have destroyed South Africa's economy and are implementing a very slow economic genocide on white South Africans.
Outside of the economic genocide, what about the actual violence and the murder? Where does that evil stem from?
So we have a very violent society. South Africa has one of the highest murder rates in the world. It's 85 murders a day. And that works out at 46 per 100,000. The world average is 6. So we have 46 murders per 100,000 population when the world average is 6. It's out of control. And it doesn't even make the newspapers. I mean, I married a New Zealander, and I remember when I was courting her, I was in New Zealand. I looked at the New Zealand Herald, and page 2 was boys kick girl out of kayak. I mean, that's New Zealand. South Africa, they don't even mention the rape and murder crimes anymore in the newspapers because we've got PTSD. So it's a very violent society. But these farm attacks and farm murders are out of control in South Africa. And our mainstream media and our government not only lying, but covering it up. In the American State Department issued a statement yesterday. They sent a team to South Africa to look specifically at this farm attack situation, specifically. And they reported back that this is a situation that is out of control, needs to be made a priority crime, and the police and government need to do something about it. It takes America to go to South Africa, do the work, and come back and report it. Where's our media? Why aren't they reporting on it?
Yeah, we've got the same sort of cover-ups going on over here with minority groups. It seems they take priority for some bizarre reason.
The grooming gangs and things like that, which have been covered up.
Exactly that. So when I took a deep dive into the farm attacks, farmers being murdered on their land, unnecessarily tortured and raped, that's kind of, we need to get under the bonnet of that. I want to know, like, why are the farmers being attacked and just how brutally are they being attacked? And I'll just give you my kind of background knowledge on South Africa. So my stepdad's sister has lived
You've been there.
I've been to South Africa 3 times, and I've got a funny story about. Well, it's not funny actually. I thought I was going to be murdered. It involves the Hells Angels and a brothel, but we're going to come back to that. Remind me.
I want to hear the story.
I'm going to tell you the story, and it's going to be an exclusive for my audience as well.
Okay.
So my auntie-in-law, shall we say, lived in SA, South Africa, for many, many years. She's now back over here, but say 30 years. On 3 different occasions, they were robbed in their own home, tied up, threatened with extreme violence, and all their worldly belongings taken. 3 times, and they still stayed there. They've got great big walls that surround them, a bit like the wall Trump wanted to build. Barbed wire at the top.
Security systems.
And they're so hell-bent on getting into these homes, they got into their property by digging under the wall. Did you? I mean, so that's common sort of knowledge to you.
Everybody, every single South African has either been held at gunpoint, robbed, or knows someone that has. My brother, and I'm from a very wealthy family, my brother has been held at gunpoint twice in South Africa. Twice. Once in my parents' home, and once when he pulled up in his car. And the guys stepped out, told him and his wife to get out of the car, lay down, robbed them, and took the car. Fortunately, neither time was he hurt. My brother. Everyone knows someone who's been, attacked, robbed, and even murdered.
So let's go back to the farmers, because there's so many different directions I could go with this, because I know just how bad South Africa is. I also know how beautiful it is, so I can see why you're prepared to fight for it.
I want to stay there. I want to fight for it. My wife's a New Zealander, and we've been back for 7 years. I lived here for 25 years, and she said to me, "I love this country. It's worth fighting for." And that's when I said, "Fine, I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up and be counted." But on the farm attacks and farm murders, let me give you some statistics. You are 3 times more likely to be murdered as a farmer than as a policeman in South Africa, and twice as likely to be murdered as a policeman than an average citizen. So a farmer is the most dangerous profession in South Africa.
Wow.
Okay? Farmers are isolated. They're on a farm, tend to be elderly. The kids usually go off to do something else, or, the young kids are on the farm, but the older kids are away. And so that they tend to be isolated. And I don't know what percentage of these crimes, these attacks, are politically motivated versus economically motivated. 66% of the attacks are on farms and 33% are on small holdings, which are still farms. And these people are targeted usually when our electricity goes down. So it's well organized in advance, not a random walk-by situation. And in 20% of the murders, there's rape and torture and horrific, horrific stories. I mean, I'm not going to mention names because the files, I've seen a lot of the files, and it affects you for life. But people get tied up with barbed wire. They get boiled in boiling water to a point where the soles of their feet come off. Women have their breasts sliced off. And often this is done in front of children, in front of husbands or wives, to the other partner. And, there have been many cases where "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer" have been written in blood or chanted while people are being stabbed. And the people who survived were witnesses to that. And in 20% of the attacks, of the murders, nothing is stolen. So rape and torture, nothing is stolen in 20% of the farm murders. What does that mean? It's not economically motivated. It's politically motivated.
That's a terror attack.
That's a terror attack. And when Julius Malema and the EFF and all these nasty hate speech people in South Africa jump up and down and say, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer, one settler, one bullet," farm attacks spike. There definitely is a link between this evil hate speech, which hasn't been condemned, this evil hate speech, farm attacks and farm murders. There's definitely a link. And the American State Department report came out, verified that.
Julius Malema. He's the leader of the Red Berets.
He's a prick.
He is a disgusting man, and I couldn't believe my ears when I'm hearing him chanting to 100,000 plus people, "Kill the farmers, one bullet, one farmer." He said something along the lines of slitting the throats of whiteness.
But not yet.
But not yet. How's he not been arrested, charged, and sent to prison? Because that's fucking outrageous.
Hasn't he been burnt at the stake? Julius Malema runs a political party called the Economic Freedom Fighters. He ran the ANC Youth League and then spun off and set up his Economic Freedom Fighters, which has nothing to do with freedom or the economy. They're a bunch of hard left,
bloodthirsty,
fascist, You know, when fascism and communism combined, he is as bad as they come. And he's also an opportunist. So he lives in a big house. He has chauffeurs, drivers. He and his cronies are definitely corrupt. There's a VBS bank scandal, which they're all implicated in. But why isn't this hate speech? It's not hate speech in South Africa because our judiciary, our judges, our high court have been captured. There's this concept of capture. And capture means that the ANC has taken control of state-owned enterprises, has taken over important parts of our democracy and of our judiciary. And I estimate that 60 to 70% of our judges in South Africa basically take command from the ANC. So if the ANC says this isn't hate speech, the ruling goes through law. The ultimate result is it's not hate speech. How can kill the farmer, kill the boer not be hate speech? Anywhere in the world.
No, I was going to say, is the calling for the murder of farmers en masse illegal? Is it actually illegal?
No, not in South Africa. It would be anywhere else in the world.
Because you've still got free speech, but there's free speech and then there's incitement to kill.
Correct.
So
the fact that I'm speaking out, saying what I say in South Africa and on great podcasts like yours, I would disappear if I was living in Iran, North Korea, Russia, or China. I wouldn't be around. But weirdly, in South Africa, there is free speech. And I think I know why. Because the ANC elites are only there to steal the country blind. They don't really have an ideology. They don't really care about South Africa. They don't care. They don't care about South Africa, the poor. They just want people reliant on them through bribery, through social grants, or through empowering 100 families that are their cronies so they can continue to steal the country blind. But if they had any brain whatsoever, they would keep the economy ticking along and growing so they could steal for longer. But these are stupid and evil people, starting with Cyril Ramaphosa himself.
So when I'm seeing the rate of murders and the fact that 20%, nothing's even stolen, so that it's clearly politically motivated to instill fear into the homes of people, made me think the police must be complicit. Or are the police complicit?
The police are captured too. So they're all part of the mafia cartel state of the ANC. And 2 weeks ago, a very senior police officer, out of the blue, stood up courageously and said, I can no longer be part of this organization that is a mafia cartel. The Minister of Police is complicit. He's part of the cartel. He's part of the evil, and I'm outing him. It's the biggest bombshell in the last few weeks in South Africa that this senior police officer had said, you know, a lot of us are trying to do our best, but this is the corrupt police service. But when it comes to farm attacks and farm murders, the time it takes for the police to even turn up, a snail would be proud. You know, the police, firstly, they've been underfunded. There's this concept of cadre deployment, or cadre deployment, which is a Soviet concept, where you put people who are loyalists into positions of power and influence and positions where you control budgets. So all the generals and all the senior police people are floozies, flunkies, and ANC cadres, incompetent, know nothing about policing. And so the police force and the army are corrupt and inefficient and are falling apart. South Africa couldn't defend itself if it tried. If we were invaded by Botswana or Lesotho, we would lose. But not in my day. When I was an infantry officer, we had the best military in Africa by far. It's fallen apart. We don't have any aircraft that fly anymore in the South African Air Force. We have 3 submarines, none of them work. And we have more generals per capita than any military in the world. So to answer your question, are the police complicit? I think they are. I don't know to what extent, but they certainly have no incentive whatsoever to make it a priority crime or to do anything about it. The farmers have been left to themselves. And by the way, it's not just white farmers. A lot of the attacks and murders are black, coloured, Indian farmers. It's across the board.
Is there more whites than blacks being targeted?
No, recently it's more blacks than whites. And I think it's because the white farmers have got their act together in terms of civil defence, arming themselves, security systems. And there's an extraordinary organization called AfriForum and Sakeliga, originally Afrikaans organizations, and they've been working with the farmers for a long time too.
Farmers produce the food. Why would you want to kill the people that produce the food?
90,000 commercial farmers in 1994, 30,000 today, commercial farmers.
Right.
We've had a 3 times meltdown of commercial farmers, and they provide food security But our government doesn't care. Our government just wants to steal. They will not prioritize something like this.
Yeah, it's a very, very short-sighted plan, regime, whatever the fuck it is they've got going on there.
They're thieves and parasites.
The lowest of the low. And I'm so glad that, there's a man like you travelling the world putting the message out there to countries like the UK that will be oblivious to this. So there's lots more to unpack. Lots. So don't go anywhere.
We need your viewers to know about it.
We do.
To speak out.
Yeah, we
Thank
absolutely.
you for this.
Thank you, because doing my due diligence on this interview today, it opened my eyes and made my hair fall out. By the way, this time last week, mine were flowing locks like yours. Before we can start making sense of the future and the present, I just want you to give me a brief history lesson on the past. So take it right back before apartheid, and then bring it up to when Nelson Mandela come into power, and then I'll segue into him.
Okay, so South Africa is a big country, 60 million people, and there are 11 official languages, 26 languages. And if you look at people always think it's white and black. That's what the ANC like to make you think. But if you look at the white tribes of Africa that arrived in 1650, mainly from Holland, France, Germany, the sort of French Huguenots and Dutch Huguenots were chased out of Europe. And then the Anglos, people like you and me, who came with the British Army, who came as economic migrants for diamonds and gold and things like that. So the white tribes are broken into Afrikaans speakers and English speakers, primarily. There are lots of other minorities like the Portuguese, Greek, Jewish, and whatever. And they make up 7% of the population. In 1994, when we had our democratic elections, we were 25%. It's now 7%. Two reasons for that. A lot of white people that have opportunity and don't see it in South Africa have left. A million white South Africans have gone. But also, the whites are not breeding as fast as the black tribes are.
Out of
Poor
fear?
people. No, I think it's just, the more educated you are, the more civilized you are, the less children you have. You have 2 children, maybe 3, because you can provide more and give them more.
Yeah.
Whereas if you, living in hopeless situations, you just knock them out bluntly. And that's telling the truth, what happens all around the world.
That's how we like it on this channel, as blunt.
I tell
to
it
the
like
point.
it is.
Tell
If you
it
look
like
at
it is.
Asia had, huge birth rates in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And as their economies grew and as education improved, birth rates go down to a point where Japan, Korea, Italy have negative birth rates.
Right.
So where am I going on this? 60 million people, 7% white, 7% colored. And a colored is a mix of white, Malay, Indian, black. And then another X% makes about 20% non-black. Right. But of the 80% black, it's not one coherent population. There are 26 different tribes. The biggest is Zulu and Xhosa, but there's Venda, Sotho, Tswana, et cetera, all with different languages. So this giant country, twice the size of France, is somewhat unmanageable, but it's culturally very, very diverse. 88% of South Africans are Christian, or Christian derivative and conservative. So communism is never going to take hold in South Africa. They're natural capitalists. It's ridiculous that we still have a communist party. So that's the racial breakdown of South Africa. Let's go back. The black tribes came from Cameroon and East Africa 1,000 so years ago, migrated down to South Africa and reached what's called the Fish River, which is 1,000 kilometers from Cape Town. The white tribes entered the Cape and then later into Durban, Natal, the British settlers, and met the official black tribes of South Africa at the Fish River, 1,000 kilometers from Cape Town. So, you can't say that the white people are colonists and the black people are indigenous. Absolutely untrue. If there is such a thing as indigenous South Africans, it's the Khoi and the San, who are known as the Bushmen, who are this very ancient African race, but they barely exist anymore. So, when we are accused of being colonists and settlers, that's absolute bullshit. The black tribes of South Africa are just as much colonizers and settlers. And under King Shaka of the Zulus, he was a murderer, rapist, pillager, throwing people off cliffs. King Shaka Airport in Durban was named after an absolute mass murderer. But, we don't talk about that, do we?
Of
Bloody
course
lefties.
Not.
So what happens is in 1910, all these disparate regions, cultures, semi-autonomous areas come together in the Union of South Africa in 1910. It's only 120 years ago. That was the formation of South Africa. And the Cape and Northern Natal and Mpumalanga, regions of South Africa, have nothing to do with each other. They actually should be self-governing regions. And that's, if there is a future for South Africa, that's it.
Right.
Federalization, decentralization, run your own area as part of this union. But that's a separate discussion. So in 1948, the Afrikaner South Africans, who were in the majority by then of the whites, win the election. The National Party comes to power. And over the next 10 years, apartheid is institutionalized, is enshrined in the Constitution. And if you take the direct translation of the word apartheid, it means separateness. It doesn't mean hate. It's H-E-I-D in Dutch is apartheid is separateness. And the intention was, you are not as advanced as we are. We're not going to give you democracy, but we're going to allow you your own culture and religion and tribe to develop in your own area at your own pace. Where it got out of kilter was all the racial laws that were instituted under apartheid and also the budget. At its worst, during apartheid, the education budget, 18 times more money was spent on white kids than black kids, at its worst. So the seeds of its own destruction were well set in apartheid. And then, we had international sanctions and pressure. And so in 1985, the Afrikaner nationalist government decided that apartheid was not sustainable and they would have to move to democracy. And in 1994, we had the democratic election. Nelson Mandela was elected. The ANC swept the boards, vast majority of the country. And the world went, good job. We've solved South Africa. Everything's fine now. And to be fair, from 94 to 2008, we had meritocracy, we had good people in all positions in power, and the country grew. The country grew at 3 to 5% a year. We added 500,000 jobs a year. South Africa was a success story. The world went, we did it, and looked the other way. And then the rot set in.
Okay, so Nelson Mandela. So as far as I know, he was a terrorist.
He was convicted as a terrorist. You're absolutely right.
Served decades in jail, then come out and become a hero. So is Nelson Mandela a hero or a villain? And how did he manage to spin it round to get people on side after killing innocent people?
Well said. He was convicted in a fair court of law. In fact, all the international justice organizations and human rights organizations followed the law, the case, and decided not to contest it because it was a fair hearing. He was a terrorist. He set up the armed wing of the ANC, Mkhonto weSizwe, MK, the spear of the nation. And he said publicly, if women and children get killed in the process, so be it. He was a terrorist, a killer. And he went to jail legitimately. But after 27 years in jail, he was released. And he came out as a man who made a conscious decision that the only way forward for the South African, for our country was reconciliation. And South Africa formed this extraordinary organization called the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. Just think about it, where if you admitted to your crimes under apartheid publicly and told the truth, you'd be forgiven. And that was the only way to heal the wounds. Otherwise, you're dragging the sins of the past with you forever. So that was an extraordinary thing. So from different people's perspectives, Mandela was a villain or a saint. My view, the ANC as an evil organization always has been. It's always had in its mandate the National Democratic Revolution, which is a racist, socialist, and kleptocratic organization designed by the Soviets. But for the kind of 14 years, from 94 to 2008, he and his legends stood over South Africa and focused on compromise, working together for the betterment of all South Africans. Okay? So he was a very bad man. He was a terrorist. But he did the right thing at the end of his life in trying to hold the whole thing together. Let me put it, that's my view.
Yeah. Was there some kind of process he had to go through to sort of rid himself of his sins to get forgiveness?
I think in 27 years in jail, he came to that conclusion himself.
Right.
You know, the 1995 Rugby World Cup, the Springboks, a lot of the black people in South Africa supported the All Blacks and in the Lions against the Springboks.
Right.
It's only recently that they've all migrated to being Springbok supporters.
National pride's back.
Yeah, but also they saw the Springbok as the emblem of apartheid. And Nelson Mandela, in holding up the trophy with Francois Pienaar that we won the World Cup in '95 against New Zealand, was an incredibly unifying. Then people said, okay, he stood with our Springboks, he supported South Africa, we like him. There are a lot of white people and there are some white people, some black people who look at Mandela as a sellout. But in my view,
Right.
he, at the ended his life as a saint, he started his life as a sinner.
I'd be interested to read the comments section on this because I'm sure there's going to be divided views on that. Okay, so we're now 2008.
Well, let me give you 2008 to today.
Okay, perfect.
From 2008 to today,
Yep.
we have gone backwards in every single metric. Health, education. We have potholes on our roads right now, our sewage pouring into the streets. People are without water and electricity on a regular basis. The country is falling apart. Johannesburg was the economic muscle of Africa. If you go and drive around, it's like Mogadishu. It is a disaster. And that's all because under Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa, they have looted the country to death. These are parasites, evil people, and they have an anti-white, anti-colored, and anti-Indian, racist and socialist approach to the country. When 1994 took place, we had a lot of racist laws in place, and most were removed. Since 1994 to today, 114, mainly anti-white, racist laws have been introduced to South Africa. We've gone from white minority rule and racist policies, apartheid, to black majority rule and anti-white racist policies. We've a reverse apartheid. It's happened again.
Yeah.
You'd think South Africa could have mended. It's happened again.
Learn.
And the world has said nothing until the arrival of Donald Trump.
So
take England, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, the silence is deafening.
Well, after this podcast, hopefully not, and I know that you've done a few more. So these anti-white racist laws that are put in place, 114, you say. For example, if you apply for a job, is it like DEI Central?
Correct. South Africa's DEI in motion. Good point. So you have to put, obviously all the details, age, qualifications, race.
Oh, you've got to put your race on the form.
By the way, there are racial quotas in sport. My 13-year-old daughter did not make the Western Province water polo team last year because a number of the girls in the female under 13 water polo team had to be children of color.
Right.
And it was pretty damn obvious who made it and who didn't, on merit and not on merit. And that happens across the board. Even the Springbok team has to have a certain people of color in them. I mean, we're still world champions, so it says something about our rugby, but isn't that horrific? So young, white, colored, Indian, or young black people who aren't of the right tribes, that aren't ANC, arse kissers, are denied opportunity. Denied opportunity, don't get jobs. There's two policies that I want to bring up. The one is expropriation without compensation.
And can you break that down and explain exactly what that means?
So into law, Cyril Ramaphosa, our spineless, evil president, signed into law this year, expropriation without compensation. They can take anything, not just land. They can take your business, your farm, your house, your watch off your arm.
For nothing in return?
For nothing in return, if it's in the public interest.
Wow.
Well, you define public interest. If they don't like me, which they don't, they can take everything I have.
They'll be
because it's
rubbing
in
their
the
hands
public
for you.
interest. Yeah.
Plenty to take.
Plenty. Yeah, but I've got a gun and I will shoot back. And so that's in place.
Wow.
That sits there, hanging over our heads. Would you, as a foreign investor, come anywhere near South Africa?
Not in a million years.
Not in a million years, exactly.
Yeah, that is like the biggest sword of Damocles you could possibly imagine.
Correct. Morons deluxe. Then we have Black Economic Empowerment, BEE. Okay?
Right.
Everything with three letters, you've got to be careful.
I've noticed
CRT, DEI, ESG, BEE.
Yeah.
Black Economic Empowerment was introduced, I think, in 1996. And the concept began as something everybody accepted. Like, the blacks have been excluded, or the black, white, and colored people have been excluded from economic power. Let's empower them. Let's bring them in. And it began as, if you have a business that does business with the state, 30% of your shareholders need to be previously disadvantaged. That's how it began. And everyone said, fine, okay, we can work with this, you know. Then it moved not just from companies doing business with the state to a point where they are trying to introduce this year, listen to this one, broad-based black economic empowerment. This is like bunker buster bomb to destroy our economy without loss of life. And broad-based black economic empowerment, Employment Equity Act, says if you have a business that has more than 50 employees, your shareholding needs to be 51% or more black. It doesn't even say colored and Indian anymore. They're not black enough. And your board, executives, and employee breakdown need to reflect the South African racial breakdown. So only 7% of your management, board, and employees can be white. I mean, how is this? It's not possible. Why would you bother even building a business?
Well, you wouldn't. And what's shocking is the fact that tells me that the prejudice and the racism isn't even hidden no more. It's almost like we're racist and we're proud.
And they call it transformation. It's basically theft and racism described as empowerment.
Do they call it progressive?
Yeah, of course they do. All lefties do. So, you know, this is sick. Our government, are they ideologically stupid or they're a bunch of thieves? They're both. These are fundamentally thieves. And Professor William Gumede, this incredible professor from, I think, Wits Business School, just released an analysis to say that black economic empowerment, this law, BEE, since 1996, has stripped R1 trillion out of the economy and only benefited 100 families. So all this stuff about transformation, empowering previously disadvantaged, it's bullshit. It's about stealing for 100 families. And the families are Cyril Ramaphosa, Gwede Mantashe, Patrice Motsepe, Marcin Gosheng. I can name all 100. These are the pigs eating at the trough and destroying our country.
Yeah, and disregard. In fact, not just disregard, fuck everybody else.
They don't care.
No.
I'll give you another fact that'll blow your mind. We have 25 million people. Remember, population 60 million. 25 million surviving on social grants. And Cyril Ramaphosa says it proudly. Oh, we're paying 350 Rand a month, which is nothing, to 25 million people. It is the most disgusting indictment of their destruction of our country.
Yeah, outside of the economy, what other damage has Cyril Ramaphosa caused?
Well,
because I want to
let's
go back
look at
to
the international
I want to go back
front.
to the violence and the torture, and we're going to touch base obviously on genocide.
He has not. Yeah, good point. So he has not done anything about the murder rate in South Africa. You know, he uses his excuse in the White House saying, farm attacks are nothing special. We are a violent society. Hold on a second. Why are we a violent society? Because you've destroyed the police and the army. They don't protect us anymore, and they've no incentive to do it. You've allowed a mafia-type corruption to come into the country, and you don't care. So you're to blame for the murder rate. Putting aside the farm attacks and farm murders, the general murder rate is entirely on the blood on the hands of him and Jacob Zuma.
I want to just say this to my audience, because people on the audio, because when you listen to the word farm attacks quickly, it can sometimes sound like farmer tax. It's actually farm attacks.
Correct.
Farm being attacked by militant, fuck knows who they are and what their ultimate goal is.
Torture and rape.
Yeah, and we've established there's political motivation as well as the poor stealing from the rich. But when the poor steal from the rich, you don't need to rape and torture them as well, which leads me to believe that there's a massive terror problem in South Africa. Let's move on to genocide. What actually constitutes genocide? Because there's more components than just one, isn't there?
100% correct. So this word genocide gets thrown around a lot. You know, this nonsense that the Israelis have created genocide in Gaza. If the Israelis had wanted to do genocide in Gaza, they'd have done it in 24 hours. So that's bullshit. America has raised the issue of a genocide of white farmers in South Africa. Trump never said that, actually, by the way, but it's been raised in the media. And let me just get to that. Genocide, if you look at the United Nations definition, is 10 factors. Only one of those is extermination, okay? So to create genocide, you have to have racial classification, organization, persecution. There are all these 10 elements, of which denial is one of them, by the way. And if you look at the 10 elements of genocide in South Africa, 7 of them are active. They haven't turned the ovens on yet, the extermination. I admit to that. There is no extermination.
Is that coming, do you think?
Look, South Africa could well be Germany 1933. Because if you look at the parallels of, racial classification, organization, all these persecution, all of it's happening against white people and colored people and Indian people in South Africa and certain black people. But the fact is, will there ever be an actually extermination? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. For the same reason, I don't think there'll be civil unrest. It's not a coup d'etat.
Oh, you don't think there'll be civil unrest?
Well, there has been in 2021. The Zulu, mainly the Zulus in KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, went wild and started burning down shopping centers, attacking people in their homes. Police did nothing about it. They actually stood watching. Army did nothing about it, weren't even sent. And the civilian population of South Africa, armed like me, stood up shoulder to shoulder. Colored people, black taxi drivers, white, Indian shop owners, white business people, all stood shoulder to shoulder and defended themselves against these people burning and destroying people's property. And it didn't spread to the rest of South Africa. So in the Cape, we were watching this going, what the hell's going on? Sending up food parcels, sending up ammunition, helping people out. But it was isolated. And so it's highly unlikely, in my view, that South Africa will have, riots that spread across the country. And some mainly black commentators say to me, Rob, you better be careful because when we come over the hill, I said, you know what? Come over the hill. I've had enough of this crap of you guys saying, watch out for us when we get angry. Bring it on. I'm sick of it.
Have you had any death threats or?
Yeah.
Because you're very vocal and a lot of people wouldn't do what you're doing.
A lot of people don't do what I'm doing. So no business people stand up
and
in South
Africa. And is that through fear of death?
It's through fear of death, fear of losing your business license. Everybody's kind of got PTSD because every single day you read about attacks, murders, rapes, more ridiculous rules, racist rules. People are just melting down. South Africans are kind of living in bubbles. So it's a very rare animal like me that stands up and tells it like it is. But more and more people are doing it. And if I can take a bit of credit, I have moved the needle to a point where 4.5 years ago, I said this thing, footsack ANC, publicly. It means piss off, but ruder than that.
Be as rude as you like.
It's basically fuck off ANC. And footsack ANC is an Afrikaans word, and I said it publicly. And I got calls from people in the ANC who I was...
Is that as good as blasphemy over there?
There are worse words. But this was, nobody ever said this to the liberation movement, the ANC, the Nelson Mandela.
You wouldn't dare.
And this one lady, very nice lady, but who's very much ANC aristocracy, Bridget Radebi, said, you can't say that about the ANC, liberation talk. I said, Bridget, it's true. I think she probably agrees with me today, 4 years later. Now more and more people are saying it. More and more people are speaking out. Blacks, whites, colored Indians. People are getting a spine, getting courage. But our mainstream media, nothing. Our corporate chieftains, nothing. Cowards, colluders, or they've been captured as well.
So Cyril Ramaphosa and the leader of the Red Berets, what's his name? Julius
Malema.
What if they merge? You're fucked.
They used to be. They were all part of one party, and they were spin-offs. So Zuma used to run the ANC. He spun off and formed the MK party. Remember I said that the terrorist arm of the ANC in the old days was called MK. That's his political party now. And he's got 15% of the country. Julius Malema was head of the ANC Youth League, spun off EFF. He's 8% of the country. That's 23% between those two monsters. And then you've got the ANC at 40. That's still 70%, 66% of the country voting for one of 3 parties that believe in racism, socialism, and punishing whites, colors, and Indians. And you've got to think to yourself, these morons have been in power for 30 years. And only now, because of their failures, are they blaming whiteness, apartheid, colonialism. Surely there's a sell-by date for this sort of crap, blaming us.
Like us with the reparations.
And we're only 7% of the country.
Yeah, there has to come a time where you think we've got to draw a line in the sand now. What's done is done. We cannot keep letting history become present and then we're all fighting each other again. I mean, does it worry you that the fact that these three big hitters, these fucking maniacs, if they combine forces, which who knows?
I'll give you the good news.
But they could completely eradicate the white and non-black race.
They're doing it anyway. They're doing it anyway.
Underhand.
The laws are coming in one after the next anyway to put an economic throttle around our throats. But remember, here's the interesting thing that people don't realize. They hate each other more than they hate us. They blame us and they're using us to steal. But if Jacob Zuma or Julius Malema were to rejoin the ANC, the current ANC guys are gone. They're toast. Because Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma will eat them alive. And there'll be no right across South African civil unrest because our army and air force, army and police are useless. All the tribes are in different places. So the EFF are up north. They came down to Cape Town a few years ago to cause trouble, and they got hounded out by the local farmers in South Africa, mainly white and coloured, chased them away. This funny story. It's a friend of mine, sort of funny. The EFF riot came down the street in this place called Brackenfell, and then mainly white and colours just poured into them, and they splintered them everywhere, okay? And these three EFF guys in the red berets were in an alleyway with this big white guy standing there, one guy against three. What did they do? They asked him for a job.
I'll tell you my funny story now.
The brothel, the Hells Angels.
Yeah, as we're halfway through, because I promised it, I've got to deliver it, and then I want to move on to Trump and the White House and Ramaphosa, because that was a scene. But I was in Cape Town. I've been there twice, and I've been to Joburg once. Very uneasy being in Joburg. No stopping
really
at traffic lights. Very, very worrying when you're there. But Cape Town, beautiful. But then you've got shanty towns.
Pretty close.
And then you come into like this just a complete and utter world of like paradise almost.
It is.
Beautiful. One night I was over in Cape Town. There must have been about 50 of us. 3 of us were the last ones standing, wanted a late drink. We found somewhere. It was a brothel. Now, I wasn't going in there for that. I mean, having sex with African prostitutes isn't my thing. But the 2 lads I was with, they probably didn't realise it until they got into the establishment that it was their thing. So anyway, it was run by bikers, big, airy, grizzly Hells Angels.
Yeah.
And so we've walked through this little door and there's all these women everywhere and everyone's looking at you like you're food because, you know, they can tell we're English.
Your money.
Yeah, money, exactly that. And I know it's dangerous. I'm kind of half cut. My 2 mates I was with were very, very drunk. We've gone to the bar. I've ordered some drinks. And the guy is asking us, which girls are you having? And for me, I'm like, I didn't come here for girls. Like, I'm not sleeping with prostitutes. I'm in Cape Town. I want to go.
I want another brandy and coke.
I want a brandy and coke, and I want to go Tabletop Mountain tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the 3 wanted a woman. Now I can now see that the guy behind the bar is making eye contact with the guy standing at the door, and there's a guy there, and they're all looking at us, and I can see that they're talking through their eyes, and I'm thinking, they're lining us up. They're going to rob us, and they don't just rob you; they beat you senseless as well and sling you out on the side. So I know this. My intuition is telling me we're in danger. My mate's drunk as a skunk. They can't sense a thing. He wants to go in there and have sex with this fucking African prostitute, and the other one next to me doesn't know what day of the week it is. He's just delighted to be wrapped around half-naked women. And so I'm grabbing my mate's leg and I'm saying, like, shut up, I've got to talk. Don't fucking go in there. So anyway, I've said to the guy, I've sussed it out. I thought they want our money. So I've said, is it okay if tomorrow I bring back another 45 lads? I said, there's about 50 of us over here on a massive, massive stag do. I said, we've been sent out on a recce to find out the best place where the women are.
Good call.
Thought of it on my feet. And I said, tonight's not the night. We've had a long night. I said, but maybe we can come back here long before you close and have a good few hours, put up some money over the bar, have a few women. I mean, how many women can we sleep with at once?
Lead him on.
And then his eyes...
He saw more money.
He sort of saw the light, saw more money. And then I could sense that the 3 guys surrounding us, there was, a bit of a... You could just tell they were signalling.
Maybe later. Yeah.
They were signalling each other. And I was like, okay, thanks, appreciate that. We'll be here tomorrow, say about 8:30. Grabbed my mates by the fucking... He said, come on, lads, we're going to go back. We're going to tell the others the good news. And then when we got out, one of them's, I was looking at a woman there. I had her lined up. Like, what we doing, leaving? Like, leaving. I said, we nearly left. We nearly not left at all.
No,
I said, they could have killed us. We're in fucking South Africa. So that was my funny story in Cape Town.
You're lucky there.
Because I felt the
Yeah.
fear. I know I've worked the door for you, so I know when we were in trouble. And I'm telling you, we was in trouble. And if I hadn't have said to him, we'll be back with more money, for more women, with more people, we may not be sitting here now.
It's a violent society. Everyone's got weapons. You know, my side of the population have guns with licenses. The other side of the population have guns and don't have licenses. It's highly armed, organized.
Well,
Most of my generation went to the military, so know how to use their weapons and protect themselves. And it's, you know,
Why is it such a violent and non-trusting society?
the cultures have all been separated. There hasn't been an interlinking, interdependence. But we've always been at war. South Africa has fought the Anglo-Zulu wars, the Anglo-Boer wars, the First World War, the Second World War. We sent our Air Force to Korea. We've had war on the borders. You know, when I was in the army, 83 and 84, you know, we were fighting in Angola. In fact, I came to America in 1985 with the main pitched tank battles, the South African army against the Angolans, trained by the Russians and Cubans. So, you know, it's always been war and violence and fighting, and Africa is Africa. But the ANC has let the thing fall apart. So we have, of 60 million population, probably 8 million illegal immigrants. 8 million illegal immigrants. Our borders, we don't have borders.
And where are
people just pour in
Where
and
are the
out.
migrants coming in from?
Well, the better ones, I mean, this is just my opinion, are the Zambians, the Zimbabweans, and the Congolese. So in the Cape, every single manager of every single house is a Malawian, not a local.
Right.
Every single person that works in a restaurant is a Zimbabwean, not a local. And every single security guard, these big guys, are Congolese, not a local. And it's a travesty because there must be 4 or 5 million jobs taken up by foreigners illegally instead of locals. Okay, 1. 2, there are a lot of Somalians. There are a lot of Islamists. There are a lot of these really dangerous guys that have come in and infiltrated South Africa. I would say 5, 6 years ago, our Muslim population, which is probably 1.5–2%, were moderate, secular, decent people. And they lived cheek by jowl with coloreds, whites, Indians, Jews. But they have been radicalized to an incredible extent and a dangerous extent.
So is there a link between
Yes.
the ANC, Hamas, Islamists?
Yes, horrific link. The ANC is an Iran proxy. So Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and the ANC are the main Iran proxies. And how did that happen? The whole of the Department of International Relations, our Foreign Affairs Department, has been completely captured by Islamists. So this woman, Naledi Pandor, a Muslim, was running it. She took money from Iran, brought it to South Africa. The ANC were bankrupt before the 2024 election. Bankrupt. Couldn't pay their bills, couldn't pay their people. The next thing, flush with cash. Guess what happened? Lady Pandor went to Iran, brought back suitcases of cash. MTN, one of the 2 South African mobile phone operators, operates in Iran. So money came through their structures. And who was chairman of MTN from 2010 to 2015? Cyril Ramaphosa is chairman of MTN. So Iran has been paying the ANC, funding the ANC, and in return, South Africa filed this ICJ case against Israel. Why would South Africa, a country on the fringe of things, somewhat irrelevant, file a case against Israel in the ICJ? Because they were paid by Iran to do it. Our whole Department of International Affairs are Islamists, and that there's real tension in South Africa from a moderate Muslim community, or was in the past, being very radicalized right now. It's very nasty.
Of course. So the
And
plot
America
thickens.
is, and I've got information here, America is about to come out. The CIA and Mossad have all the information. And I believe that Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC knew about the Hamas attacks on Israel before it happened. Watch this space. And if that happens, if there is proof that Cyril Ramaphosa and his ANC people know, there will be a lawsuit, not just against ANC, but against Cyril Ramaphosa himself for his wealth. He's worth $400–500 million. He is going to be brought individually to task.
But they take him to task for war crimes.
Worse than that, war crimes and more. If he knew, or the ANC knew, that the Hamas attack was going to happen before it happened, they're in beyond serious trouble.
Cool. So when Cyril Ramaphosa was in the White House, I mean, for those, I'm sure most people watching this would have seen that when Donald Trump sort of lulling him into
dim the lights,
lulling him into a false sense of security, romancing him, dim the lights,
Genius.
and then he played that video of the leader of the Red Berets
Malema, jumping up and down,
calling for the death of farmers, and all the other madness he was coming out. Very evil incitement.
Genius work.
It was brilliant.
I mean, what Trump could have done is attacked Cyril Ramaphosa in the ANC. He didn't.
He diverted it to make
He
it good, didn't
basically
he?
said, look what's happening in your country. Why is it happening? And why aren't you doing something about it? And Cyril Ramaphosa was like a pathetic schoolgirl, like shifting from butt cheek to butt cheek, avoiding the issue, giggling, saying, oh, it's nothing special. This is a fringe organization. It's not a fringe organization. They're 8% of the vote. The EFF.
He was talking
It's
to 100,000
voters.
people.
1 million voters support the EFF.
That's a big problem.
That's a big problem.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
So Trump, it was genius what he did. And Cyril Ramaphosa and his motley crew that he took with him, trying to defend Cyril. I don't know why they were there. I'm not even going to point that out. It upsets me no end. But Cyril Ramaphosa was embarrassed by that situation, looked like an idiot, which he is, and went back to South Africa and proclaimed that he'd won a great victory in the White House. So here's the problem. The ANC has got away with saying whatever they want, doing whatever they want for 30 years. But the pigeons have come home to roost because America's not putting up with it anymore. Donald Trump's looking at South Africa and saying, this is DEI in motion in this country. These are racist, socialist, and anti-American people. If you look at South Africa's voting record in the United Nations, it's one of the top 4 countries to vote consistently against America. So the ANC has been thinking they can get away with almost murder, farm murders certainly. They can get away with murder, get away with theft, get away with kleptocracy and bribery and cheating and stealing and destroying an economy, and then act this moral superiority in the world. Not anymore.
No, good. I mean, to walk away from that Trump meeting and come back as if it was a win, I mean, that's delusional and narcissistic in the extreme.
100%.
You can't beat a mindset like that because
this guy's a moron.
It's arrogance times.
And if they catch him for these crimes of knowing what was going on, Hamas, Israel, and Cyril Ramaphosa will end up bankrupt and in jail, hopefully.
Does Elon Musk have any sway over Ramaphosa?
Not really. I think, who does have sway over Ramaphosa? That's a very, very good question.
That was my next one.
And if you look in the White House at who was there supporting Cyril, there's a big question mark over a certain South African billionaire. Why was he there? Why was he there supporting Cyril? We know Cyril is incompetent, evil, corrupt. By the way, there's this scandal called Pala Pala where they found millions of US dollars in Cyril Ramaphosa's sofa of cash.
And could he say where it came from?
He said he was trading buffalo.
In cash?
In cash. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure that came from Iran. So it's fundamental evil.
Hush money.
The Western world say nothing. The Russians, Chinese, Iranians, and North Koreans support their evil friend, the ANC.
Yeah, I was going to ask, who are South Africa's main allies? And you just answered it. Iran, Russia, China.
North Korea.
North Korea.
Nice guys.
Yeah.
Hamas. The ANC is an Iran proxy. And more and more information is going to break in the very near future about that, about them being an Iran proxy, about their anti-Americanism, and about what they actually knew before the attack. And when that comes home to roost, I mean, America is pretty pissed off with the ANC and South Africa. So August the 1st, tariffs on South Africa, 30%, maybe 40, because BRICS countries get an extra 10. But what is more interesting is Congressman Ronnie Jackson of Texas is putting a bill, it's gone through the committee already, it's going to Congress now, to sanction individual members of the ANC and other individuals in South Africa, Malema, Zuma, and others, who are accused of anti-Americanism, corruption, kleptocracy, hate speech, anti-Semitism, and they're going to go after them individually, sanction them, SDN, Magnitsky Act, acid freezes. Couldn't happen sooner.
Just to recap what I said earlier, just to amplify that, it's very dangerous what you're doing. It's all right for me because I'm going to stay in Britain. You've got to go back to South Africa. So you're risking your life doing this. We've ascertained. Do you think if they were going to murder you, they would come into your house and torture you, or do you think they'd use a sniper to take you out?
That's a great conversation. It's why I fly on public and commercial airlines, because they're not going to blow up a plane with another 200 people. Whenever I sit down, someone looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, he's on our flight."
But do you think about it? Do you think how they're going to kill me?
No.
You just think if it's my time.
I have a gorgeous wife.
Is she scared?
She is a bit scared, yeah. She wishes I wasn't doing this, but she respects the fact and knows that it's moving the needle in the country, but it's not easy for her. And my dad said something that keeps me going. He said, right at the beginning, he said, "I've never been more proud of you, Rob, for doing and saying what other people can't afford to do and say." And that keeps me going. But it's not, have I thought about how they knock me off?
I don't know how perverse you are, Rob.
I haven't thought about it. Make it quick. There's a very famous Springbok rugby player. He's actually a friend, a great guy, who admitted to the Springbok team that he said never seen a more beautiful girl in his life than my wife, Katie. He said, "Oh my God, that's the girl, if ever there was."
Well, you're a handsome man.
And another Springbok player called me and he said, "Rob, I'm just warning you, this guy's in love with your wife." And I said to him, "Well, listen, if he or someone bumps me off, there's lots of money, just be nice to the kids," which is not the answer my wife wanted. So I have kept going. I'm going to keep speaking up. And what's really important, I'm really grateful to you for having me on your show, is to keep the international audience, to tell them what's going on. So the ANC can't get away with it anymore.
Well, you know what it's like. People, they sort of listen to things, but they don't take a great deal on board, and they always think it will never happen to me. And until it does happen to them, they don't really care or take action. Nothing wrong with that. We're all human beings. But what do my British audience need to know about South Africa, and how could it potentially affect them down the line? What's your cautionary tale to the Brits?
That it can easily happen here. Soft diplomacy is soft cock.
And no one wants one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you've got a beautiful wife.
Trump takes no nonsense. He says, this is DI in action. These are anti-American. We're going to deal with it. We're going to be tough. Where's the British government calling out South Africa? Just call it out for what it is. We're not asking you to sanction South Africa. I like that, but you're not going to. But just say, we think it is unacceptable how the ANC is behaving. Unacceptable. Whereas all these House of Lords and members of Parliament say nothing.
This is Keir Starmer.
They don't want to say boo.
About.
Well,
what are your views on Keir Starmer? There's a question.
Does wanker come to mind?
Perfect.
The sooner you get rid of him and Labour, the better. I mean, it's a travesty. I know why Labour got in, because the Tories went on too long and did nothing, and Boris was fundamentally useless. He had an opportunity, he failed. And he had some dippy girlfriend who persuaded him that net zero was a good thing, which will bankrupt you. So Labour won't survive. Will Farage merge with Tories? I don't know, but he's the most likely candidate, Nigel. But for South Africa, we need international countries to stand up and be tough and not soft diplomacy nonsense. Tell it like it is. Call them out. They're corrupt. They're gangsters. They're anti-West. The ANC are evil. That's what I want your viewers to know. But there's a funny corollary here, okay?
Yeah.
There are 300,000 South Africans living inside the M25, all doing very well. Okay, some of the top companies now in the UK are run by South Africans. And if I was Britain, Australia, New Zealand, I'd open the floodgates to South Africans.
You're my favourite South African. Do you remember Spitting Image?
I do.
I never met a nice South African. That's not bloody surprising me. I've met one.
Thank you.
I've met a nice South African. Before I ask you my final question, and I just want to thank you for coming on today as well, because it's a big eye-opener for me doing all my research, and hopefully my audience will enjoy this, enjoy you, come and support you and follow you. So where can they find you? What your social...
Well, thanks for that. So what I've pulled together all the podcasters in South Africa that are centre-right, Judeo-Christian, free market, into an organisation called The Truth Report. And if your viewers don't mind, it costs them nothing. Go to truthreport.co.za and just click subscribe on our videos. Get us through 100,000, because we launched it recently.
Oh, well, I'll put that link in the description.
Thank you.
So
that would really help.
Yeah, click the link and go and...
And I'm not doing it for money.
Support Rob, and it costs you nothing.
Yeah, just click and done. Yeah.
Perfect. And X?
I'm on X. I didn't even... A funny story. I wasn't on any social media till February this year. My wife banned me from being on it because she said, you're going to say and do something we will all regret.
You have women slipping in your
Which
DMs.
Which is probably true. You had a few drinks and then you go, F this, F that.
Cool, don't tweet when you're pissed.
Exactly. So she's allowed me to go on to, well, I've got a YouTube channel, obviously, but I'm on X. I think I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but I've got a couple of people that run it for me, and I'm not allowed to post anything. I don't even know the code. So I send stuff to this buddy of mine, Nick French, say, please post, and sometimes he says, no, I'm not posting that. So I'm on a leash.
Okay, so you got people reining you in. Okay, well, I'll put all your links in there. So the final question is, how do you make South Africa safe again?
Well, I know how to fix the economy.
Other than
I can fix it in 100 days. How do I make it safe again?
What's the solution?
It would be good to have the army and the police do their job for once.
For
but
the people.
They're so corrupt. And they've been so undermined. I mean, they are average plods on the street trying to do their best, but the whole management of governance of the army and police is destroyed and incompetent. You'd have to replace that. And that'll take 3, 4, 5 years. We've all got our guns and ammo, and we're all looking after each other. So I suppose there's a terrible answer. It comes down to education. We have failed every single generation in South Africa for the last 100 years.
Every metric,
but education's been the worst. You know, we're graduating stupid people from high school, and the country, you cannot have that. And I think we need to stand up and be proud of our Judeo-Christian heritage and civilization, because that is the bulwark against evil. Let's be proud of being who we are, what we've created, and everything we've invented and done. Let's be proud.
That's a great final word. Bring back national pride, and I think a lot of this would be resolved if we all sort of felt love for our country again, and Britain
and fly the flag.
Britain included, yeah. Even if you do get arrested or fined, like they're doing in London. But I've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, please like and subscribe to the channel. It costs you absolutely zero, and we can raise awareness that the mainstream media want to kept well swept under the carpet. Rob, I've thoroughly enjoyed that, and my final word to you is keep doing what you're doing, and please stay alive, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
Good health, brother. Cheers, mate.